everyone. I thought it might be fun today to show you how I paint embellishments with markers. So a lot of markers out there are water soluble. What that means to me is you can basically paint with them. You can add water to them and kind of change their appearance. So I have a couple examples today, maybe 4 or 5 that I'm going to show you and hopefully enjoy. So the first example I'm going to do is roses. I'm going to be using Tombow brush letter pens or brush pens, but you can use, again, whatever markers you have. If you have Crayola or Artist Loft, or I mean, there's just a ton of them out there, as long as it's water-based. What I like to do is for the roses, you just start with this little kind of circle motion and you stagger it around until it vaguely resembles a rose. So I'm going to make another one here. So this technique, I mean, it might even be nice on like a more casual wedding invitation or something like that. Did I just ruin it? No, I think it looks a little better. And it'll look, I think, a little nicer, hopefully a little nicer once we add our water. So I'm using a size 6 watercolor brush, and again, we are on watercolor paper. That'll make a huge difference. Normally for watercolors, I use, your brush is fairly wet, but for this, it's gonna be a little bit more dry because too much water and it just turns into one big blob. I'm just going over the lines that I've already made and just kind of pushing it around. And I like to keep some definition. I like that contrast between light and dark. I think it gives that effect of having shadow. So as you can see, there weren't lines right there, but that's okay because you have a little bit on your brush, so you can use that to paint with as well. And just work these little semicircles around until you kind of achieve what you're looking for. Like that I didn't love. I feel like it really washed out quickly. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more pigment in, and then it needs leaves. What I like to do on the leaves is use a lighter green and a darker green, or maybe kind of a bluish green or something like that. I think the key is 2 colors. So, oh, I kind of ran out of room. We'll just go with it. So I take the contrasting color, in my case, the darker color, and add it to, I'm just adding it to one side. You can add it to both sides. You could just do like a line down the middle. Let's do a line. And it can be kind of sloppy. That's what's really nice about this, is it's pretty forgiving. So there I thought a little too much water, so I just dab it off a little bit more and come back. So you just work the lines around, just go over your existing lines, and you see the color blends. You have to be a little careful around these roses. I mean, if it blends a little bit, I think that's really beautiful, but I like it to be minimal. And you just work it around. I like to leave kind of a little bit of white sometimes too. It gives it a little bit of a highlight. And then we'll try this guy. So see how it's white like that? I haven't blended that yet. I'll come back with a clean, dry brush and kind of swipe over it. That way it leaves a lot of the white, but it's not stark white. And there's some roses. I mean, that didn't take very long. I didn't have to drag out my watercolor paint. I think it's pretty nice looking. So the next thing I thought we could do are these little water droplets. And they don't have to be water droplets per se. They can actually just be an embellishment. A lot of times you'll see them like something kind of like that. But again, the idea here is to create texture, kind of, or dimension is probably a better word. Oops. So I like to use two colors to help do that, and then you can also use the white as your third color. Of course you can put more colors in too, but I also like it simple and fairly fast. So again, same thing, fairly dry brush, not super wet. Although, you know, if you wanted it super wet, I did one the other day and it was pretty wet and it was pretty cool. I want that white more at the bottom. Okay, and then again, clean, dry brush, just kind of swipe over. Actually, I'm gonna fill that in because I really am not liking where that white ended up. And then later I can actually come with a damp brush and kind of scoop up, kind of erase almost the color. Another technique that you see quite a bit really is something like this. I do not know what these are or what they represent, but they are really cute. And you see them a lot. So if you know, drop it in the comments below so you can educate me. So you could do these filled in, or you could actually do them open. Open is really cool too because it gives you more of that gradient. I'm gonna go ahead and add just a smidge of blue. Again, I like to have just a little bit of, you know, more than just one color. So fairly dry brush again, you know, still water on it obviously, but I would say something like this, start with less water and maybe add more, because the more detailed stuff you have or the smaller stuff, if you add too much water, it's just gonna look like a blob by the time you're done. And I mean, if your thing is blobs, do it. Go for it. I'm all about it. Oh, see, like that had a little too much water. I was talking about blobs, so I decided subconsciously to make a blob, apparently. And I almost like it without the stem. I think that's prettier. So I'm just gonna do the leaves. You can see how that creates just a little bit different look there with the open and the closed. So yeah, I think if I did the stem again, I'd probably just do it without the water. The water, it is a, I mean, that's a look too. It just depends how bold you want it, I guess. But I am really liking that. Okie dokie. So there's two more I would like to show you. There's one more that's more kind of used, I would say, for a background than anything. Let's use this kind of marigold yellow. I wouldn't say I would do this for super big projects because these are really expensive markers. You could also do this with Crayola. I'll show you that in just a moment. So what I'm still using the Tombow. I did kind of a lighter color and then a darker one that complements. That is gonna look really nice when it blends. But what I was saying is I wouldn't do this on a giant piece of paper. You know, I wouldn't fill this whole page with Tombows because they're very expensive. It's definitely cheaper to do something like this if you wanted it large scale with watercolor, absolutely. But if you had something small and you're kind of in a pinch, you could definitely, or in a bind, you could definitely use this in a pinch. So I'm gonna leave that center the way it is. I kind of like that definition. But basically I just added water and I pulled the pink up through the yellow. So it adds that gradient effect. So for the Crayola, this color is gorgeous, by the way. I have to see what this is. coral reef. You could also do the same kind of things with Crayola. I do notice it's a little bit different looking. I'll show you. Actually, I'll try and do one up here. You can see it's not as maybe pigmented as the Tombos are, because I have quite a bit of water on my brush right now, more than I did with the Tombow, and it's still pretty stagnant, but you still get that softer watercolor look. Yeah, I mean, that's a cute little flower, right? Totally different, but I think it's cute. So the last one I wanted to show you is a little flag embellishment. These are the little bows at the end. Oop. And then, so these are Tombos again. These are their pastel colors. And you just start working them, or putting little flags across. So again, a fairly dry brush, and I just paint. You just kind of fill it in, you go over your lines, you know, a little bit of paint gets on your brush and you just kind of wiggle it in. And I think it really creates a cute little look, and this, I mean, something like this would be adorable for a card, for a buddy who's having a baby or something like that. So here's my flags, and then you could letter underneath like that. Completes my video for today. I hope you guys thought it was kind of fun to paint with markers. I think it's unique and really handy because you don't need much, you know, mini supplies. So, all right, well, have fun, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.